What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is yet another episode of The Culture. This is episode 6. And for episode 6, I had no choice but to make this a special addition to the series. We have none other than Zar The Supreme Supremacy with us in the building today.
Yeah.
Zar, welcome to the show. Welcome to The Culture.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. Just to reiterate, The Culture aims to highlight, showcase, and bring forward amazing artists and creatives that are making waves and ripples within the Zambian entertainment and art industry. Zar, give us a little insight into the name itself. Zar The Supreme, Supreme Supremacy.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that, and how has that whole journey been, finding your name and finding your sound and stuff?
Zar, the name Zar comes from Russia, actually. Tsar's a Russian leader, Alexander the Tsar, and Tsar actually represents a supreme leader.
Yeah.
It just all around represents supreme. You know what I mean? Supremacy.
Yeah.
That's what it really represents. And I inherited this name off in the UK, just being in the streets, you know, doing things I wouldn't speak of on camera.
Doing what OGs do.
Yeah, things that, you know, we were young and still trying to find our way, just, and getting into all sorts of trouble. But I've always been true to myself.
Where were you born? Where have you lived?
I was born in Zambia, Lusaka.
Yeah.
I was actually born at UTH.
Wow.
And then by the age of 1, my grandfather was a doctor that studied in China, Germany, where he met my grandmother in Germany and had my mom and her siblings in Germany, and then they moved back, but they separated, my grandparents. So my grandmother went off to the UK in the 80s, and then my grandfather came back to South Africa. At the time, apartheid was at its height, so my grandfather was part of the movement and the struggle.
Wow.
Yeah, and
was that in the 90s or the 80s?
The 90s.
Excellent.
But I was very young. I was a baby in the 90s. But I do remember certain things. Like, I remember once my mom went crazy. We were in a shopping mall, and this lady comes up to me and says, this white lady comes up to me and says, this section is not for people of your skin tone. And I didn't understand it, but it's like I knew what she meant. And I started crying, because even as a baby, like as a kid, I was an introvert.
Yeah.
That was crazy. And then from there, I moved back to Zambia for a little while. Stayed in Zambia for like, I think about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And then I moved back to South Africa.
Yeah.
At that time, my mom had moved away because my grandfather passed away. So my mother moved to the UK where my grandmother was, and I was in South Africa.
I hear you.
And I just continued with my school, and school was a struggle because my mother wasn't there to guide me, you know, and it was tough. I was living with my aunt, my mom's younger sister, and she was the best mother she could be for me at that point in time, because
doing the best she could.
Yeah, because she was equally just as young and also finding her way in the world. So it wasn't easy for her to inherit. I had my experiences running around in Joburg, like Hillbrow, with my older cousins.
And those are hectic areas.
Yeah, those are crazy areas, like with gangsters, guys with guns, and you're up, and I was like 15, I was younger than that.
Who would you say Zar The Supreme is?
Zar The Supreme is an artist, just trying to find his way in this crazy world, you know?
Indeed.
Trying to paint the world from my perspective, basically, you know?
Excellent.
And put it out into the world, and hopefully people catch a positive vibe off it, and maybe learn something from me.
Are you mainly a rapper? Are you mainly an actor? Or are you everything creative?
I'm everything creative. I mean, wherever my creativity allows me to go, I go. It's a spiritual journey. So you can't necessarily, if you're creative all around, you don't choose. Sometimes you're chosen.
When did Zar first get into music?
Music, I got into music, I was about 15. Yeah, I was about 15. Moved to the UK, 2010, drug deal goes wrong. My little brother is stabbed and killed.
May his soul rest in peace.
Yeah, and I get a phone call. At that time, there was BBMs. So my BBM is going off crazy.
Blackberry Messenger.
Blackberry Messenger. My BBM is going crazy. So I open it and I look at everybody's got his picture as they profile and it says RIP. Then my other little brother calls me and he's like, yo, like, have you heard? And I'm like, heard what? And then a close friend of mine calls me and he says, yo, Zar, where you? And I could hear it in his tone. I was like, bruh, please don't play with me. What you told? Like, for a year straight of my life, like I switched off my connection to God because I didn't understand that situation.
Frustration.
Yeah, I didn't understand that situation.
Not being
you know
able
what I
to
mean?
comprehend why.
And then the dude that killed him only got it was a white boy, he only got 6 months. Okay, fine, cool. The lawyer might have brought the case wrong and said murder when it was manslaughter, but damn, like, not even knife or drugs. This dude just is set free. You know what I mean? Moved his whole family out of the town we were living in because now he was getting threats and his home was shut up and you know what I mean? Now the feds are on me and my phone tapped and all these people following me. I got my mother crying at me like, where were you? You know what I mean? And all of these crazy things and this guy gets set free. Like, that touched me different.
Huge.
You know what I mean? That touched me different. And a spiritual encounter I had was I was walking out. My best friend is from St. Vincent. He's from the Caribbean. He was out of the country.
Yeah.
So he comes back and he's like, yo, I've got all the information about this kid and his family. Where you at? I'm at home. Cool. Okay, I got ammunition, everything ready. Let's go.
Wow, they were like really ready.
Yeah, we was ready to. We was ready to go. Like everything set out. When I was walking out of the house, my mom calls me, and it's like she knew. So she calls me and she's like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "Nah, I'm just going to see Remy. We're gonna go chill or something." And she says to me, very what is the word? Profound words. She said to me. She said, "Right now, the devil is dangling a piece of steak
in front of you."
And her voice sounded exactly the same way it sounded when I got offered those drugs.
Wow.
It's like, so are you gonna eat this steak? Because if you do, then you've signed your soul away. So I want you to understand that your brother may not be with us and it hurts, and she had tears coming down her face, like she knew what I was about to go and do. You know what I mean? And I stood there and I looked at her and tears just started rolling down my face. And I went outside and I told my friend,
we can't do it now.
We're gonna kill them. And he said, yeah, let's go. And I said, nah, we need to find a different way. We need to go about this different. And from there, I just locked myself in the studio. That's when music saved me. That's when hip hop saved me, because I went into the studio and I would go into the studio at 10 p.m. and come out at 10 a.m. Wow. That's when I recorded my first mixtape ever, was called The Shallow Thoughts of a Deep Thinker. Wow. And that's when I just let everything out into that mixtape. And that's when all those things started to happen, like DJ Green Lantern featured me on a mixtape, Warren G, Ace Hood, opening up for Ace Hood at the O2 Arena.
Amazing.
You know what I mean? Like getting offers in France, Belgium for crazy amounts of money. So it just showed me that you can rechannel
your energy and circumstance.
Yeah, you can rechannel your energy and circumstances, you know, depending on how strong you are here. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think it's not about negative or positive energy, it's about what you transform it into. I had an older cousin of mine who introduced me to Tupac's music, introduced me to Nas. You know what I mean? And I listened to this music. At the time, I was young. I was just like, okay. Like, yeah, it sounds cool. Yeah. You know, and then eventually he was like, yo, you should start writing to vent. He didn't say rap. He just said to me, you should write your feelings. Yeah. Write it out to vent, like write. And I started writing and it became poetry. So I started out with poetry. I would write these poems about how I feel, how I see the world, how I see my life, and all of those things. And then he introduced me now to instrumentals, and we would have these battles where it's like, and it wasn't necessarily like freestyle battles off the top of the head. It was like, I want you to go back to write and think about what you're saying, and it should make sense, but at the same time, it should tell a story, and it should rhyme, and it should, you know what I mean? And so
let it go on a beat.
It was pretty bad. It wasn't a great start. It was very bad.
I thought you were gonna tell me it was murder.
Nah, it was bad because my older cousin would send me back like literally like, yo, that's whack.
Really?
Like, that's whack. Like what? That you thought of that?
Yeah.
Like that's whack. And I'd get so mad.
Really?
Yeah, I'd get so mad, and I'd go back and I'd write. Then I'd come back to him, and he's like, yeah, that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Fine.
You know. So but eventually with time, it became second nature to me to just, you know, pen how I feel, like just constantly write how I feel.
So without knowing it, that's probably where some of your lyricism comes from.
Yeah, definitely. Just writing from a perspective of my life and how I feel and the world around me, you know what I mean?
I think it's something that stands out to me personally the most, because I'm very strict with what I consider to be top tier lyrical ability.
Yeah.
So when I listen to your freestyles or when I listen to your songs, the first one that comes into mind is the one you did with Jay, which has a slightly more blended Afro beats, fruity, but silky instrumental on it. Was the lyricism, man. Verse 1, verse 2, you left me thinking, he really knows how to paint a picture. And I can hear the poetry. And what I like about the poetry the most is, unlike these other MCs you see, you don't necessarily feel pressure to rhyme A, B, C. Sometimes you weave your words into the sentences where it doesn't really have a regular rhyme scheme. And that's harder to do for me. I respect that a lot.
Like even with the acting, I never thought about it like that. As you know, J-Rox owns Upfront Media.
Upfront Media Films,
Upfront Media Films, and he has so many things going on within the media. At the time, we were trying to figure out, like, yo, Zar, how are we gonna roll out the strategy for your music and get that traction that is necessary to get people to listen to you. You know, he hit me up with the idea, like, yo, I've got this crazy. He told me about this, like, I think 2 years prior.
Wow.
Yeah, I think 2 years prior, if I'm not mistaken. 2 years prior. He told me about Mungoma, like, yo, I've got this crazy story, and I've got something for you. And then let's just try something. Let's see. So I get to the studio and there's cameras out. I was like, oh yeah, you're gonna audition. And then we're gonna send the tapes off to South Africa. I'm like, wow. I'm like, Jay, you're like, no, just read this. That's all you have to do, bro. Don't worry about it. And then he sits with the director behind there, and they're like, yeah, so show us you're angry. And I'm like, huh? And then you know what I mean? I got into it. Okay, now you're happy, like you're talking to a woman, and so they sent
taking you through different emotions.
You know what I mean? And then they sent the tape to SA, and it was approved. And as usual, he casually gets back to me, and he's like, "Yeah, so you got the role." So this whole time it's not registering to me. I'm like, yeah.
Obviously, he's referring to Mungoma, which is a series that's been airing on Zambezi Magic. And it is set in Lusaka, Zambia. It's got an array of different stories all intertwining. You've got issues to do with passing down of wealth, owning a record label, signing artists, love, hate, lust, betrayal, dishonesty, all of that stuff going. And I think I just need to give my hats off to everybody that's part of what you guys are doing to do. What can we expect from Zar in the next few periods of time?
Musically, don't expect the same thing. Like, people like to put you in this box like you're dead. Like, for as long as I'm still breathing and God gives me air in these lungs of mine, don't ever expect anything artistic for me to be the same. Like, so if you're expecting Zar to just give you lyrical, deep hip hop, like some of you call it, music for me, I want to explore. Of course, not taking away the lyricism and the artistic and the artistry of who Zar is as an artist, but I still want to explore this field of art because art is so vast.
It's there to be explored.
And it's there to be explored. Shout out to my boy Musepela Chide. He's also one of those. He sounds different. He
doesn't sound like anybody else.
Like on the beat, he just does what he does best. And guess what? Nobody can do it. Like
everyone picks the pocket on the beat like this, and he's gonna look for the opposite
direction. And I feel like, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not shooting down. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shooting down Sangatembo and what he does. All I'm saying is, if you're gonna critique music,
be open-minded to diversity.
Yeah, like don't listen to somebody else and then come listen to a song with that somebody else still in your mind, and then you're listening to somebody else and then you critique it based off that, like your foundation is. Do you get what I'm saying?
100%.
Like critique. If you're gonna critique music, I suggest you do your homework. I've actually got a bit of stick for that. Like, oh, where's the rhyme? And I'm like, what you talking about? Are you dumb or something? Like, are you hearing what I'm saying for you to be talking about rhyme schemes? Like, you want me to be like, bat, that, rat, sat, fat, cat. You know what I mean? Like the whole way. And, you know, there's a difference between what I do is I'm not trying to be the best lyricist. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to out-rap whoever. I'm trying to tell a story. My story. My truth. So sometimes it's not everything that requires you to rhyme. It's like, even when from studying Tupac or studying Nas, what I learned from like Pac, it was all in his vocal ability 100%. To make you believe and see it in your mind, everything he was saying, because of his vocal ability to say, hey, listen, this is what I went through. You know what I mean? Now imagine it. And you imagine it for real. You know what I mean? And he didn't have to rhyme the whole way and sound slick, because at the end of the day, music is spiritual. Music is a feeling more than it is about just lyricism, like putting slick words together for the sake of rhyming.
Of just doing it.
You know what I mean? I remember once Pusha T was asked and he said, how do you feel about Soulja Boy? And at the time, Soulja Boy had blown up. And he said, you know, people get it misconstrued in the sense that music is a feeling. And you can't take away feeling, because you see what I'm saying? Everything we do is triggered off feeling.
100%.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, if Soulja Boy is giving these young kids a feeling compared to the guy who's rapping a bunch of intricate, complex words and putting them together, who wins? The person that's giving people feeling, or the person that's giving people a bunch of words that rhyme and don't even make sense, but it just sounds slick, you know, and it rhymes.
It's interesting you touch on that, because I think there's a phrase or a saying, and you've heard, people might not remember what you said, but people will remember how you made them feel.
And that's facts. And that's why you see people like Tupac still lives on today. It's because Tupac wasn't the best lyricist, but Tupac made people feel some type of way. And he's still making people feel some type of way in his music till today. There's artists that have failed to outsell Tupac till today. You understand what I'm saying? Because of how he made, and that was his impact on the culture. It's the same thing Bob Marley said. He said, music is a feel.
100%.
You know what I mean? And a lot of artists try to imitate or duplicate this feel.
You have to find your own version of emotion and feeling that you can portray in your art.
Yeah, that you portray and give to the people. It's a feel. It's the same thing I've seen, like some people would say, like Chef 187. I'll give you an example. Some people have got the opinion that he's got one style. And he rhymes a certain way and he does it all the time.
Similar schemes, similar tones.
Similar. But guess what? Chef gives people a feel. A feeling that you can't duplicate, you can't imitate.
And that's the jackpot.
Bro, that's a jackpot. You win. It's not
that's
about...
the jackpot. That's the jackpot.
You win. Yeah, cool, I understand that aspect of you saying he needs to switch up, he needs... But it's a feel. If he gives people a feeling that you can't deliver...
You got to respect that.
At the end of the day, when we look at the numbers, and he performs on that stage and people go crazy, it's not because they're going crazy because his name is, you know what I mean, Chef 187. It's because he gives people a feeling.
It's earned.
It's earned. Do you see what I'm saying? So music is, for me, I look at music and even hip hop. Hip hop is spiritual.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like you tell stories of your own, your truth within the walls
Within the music.
of hip hop. And there is no rules to hip hop.
No.
I don't know where these people get.
There's the gatekeepers and the
I don't know where these
rule makers.
rules. Hip hop has never had rules.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've heard some critics critique my music. Shout out to Sanga Tembo. I see you. Be like, Zar is.
Shout out, Sanga.
Shout out to you. Great job. Zar is missing a beat. What? That's Zar. I'm giving you Zar.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What, you want me to sound like the next man so that you the same critiquing ass
I don't know. I
nigga
feel
that
like you're hitting the nail on the head.
that
because
will turn around and be like, oh, Zar's trying to imitate.
I think you're hitting the
Do you
nail on the
understand what
head
I'm saying? That's
because
some sucker.
what we're doing and the problem within the Zambian music industry is we are trying to kill individuality.
Yeah.
We are not allowing people to organically grow
Yeah.
in their form of artistic expression.
Yeah.
If you hear 10 rappers that sound the same, which is starting to happen,
Yeah.
that is not a good thing.
No, it's not.
It is not a good thing. You need to be able to uniquely place yourself within the whole living organism of what we call hip hop.
I believe God is a creative himself.
100%.
And as you can see, when you go to Brazil, Brazil doesn't look like Africa. The climate in Brazil and Africa, the climate in the UK and Zambia are two different. So if God can be as diverse as that, why should I not be diverse in being creative?
100%.
Because this is his gift to me. That's what I have within me that he gave to me to put out there into the world. So I believe that if you're gonna expect Zar just to be this hardcore, constant, hey, expect me to be in a pink suit at some point.
Expect Zar to do the unexpected.
You know what I mean? Like, they might catch me in a pink suit and just chilling, talking to the ladies with a different, totally different vibe.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be the most lyrically complicated, mind-blowing, scientific raps that you've ever heard.
Yeah.
But if it gives you a feel and it caters to other different people, that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? So for me, I just believe in just exploring the vast nature of being creative in my space, whether it's acting, whether it's musically. So just don't expect the same thing from me.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I could talk to this guy for 2 hours. Clearly, obviously, you can see it. But I feel like we've given you just enough gems for you to go back on, replay this, digest them, and understand who he is as an artist, who he is as a person, who he is as a creative. And without further ado, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. I'd like to apologize that we've taken a bit of time to get this next episode to you, but we focus on only bringing you quality. If it's not worth our time, we will not record it.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning into the Culture of episode 6 with the MC, and we have brought to you Zar The Supreme Supremacy.
Yeah.
And we'll see you soon.